And like a lot of guys nowadays especially don't really know how to lead women. They don't know how to do it effectively. So if you meet a guy who doesn't know how to lead a woman and he's like, submit to me, you're going to be like, why? Like your leadership isn't good.
You don't know what you're doing.
And then we get the backlash because we're like, they're like, oh, well, nobody's listening. Well, I'm not just following you in blindly. Like,
Yes.
you need to explain to me why this is important and why I'm doing this, because I completely agree with her. Our society is weakening daily
Yes.
with the strength of men.
Yes.
And I feel that the reason that women are getting so much stronger is out of necessity.
Well,
We
that's
have to be.
part of it. Part of it, there's been a sociological push,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the past 100 years, to empower women as much as possible and to also tell women that they don't need men.
Right.
So that's one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is that men have been demoralized and weakened by propaganda. There's an assault on our endocrine systems, right? So like a strong man, like when you see a strong man and you're like, that's a man that I respect, like he's a man who can lead. He probably has higher than average testosterone levels, right? This is the hormone that makes a man a man. If you remove this from a man's body, he's going to become weak. If he has enough of it, he's going to become strong. Male testosterone levels right now are half of what they were in our grandparents' generation. So you look around and you're like, yo, there's all these soy boys. The reality is, you're right. Biologically,
soy boys.
yeah, soy boys.
Soy boys.
Literally soy.
All these
It's in everything.
estrogen
Yeah,
filled
soy.
living off of
Yeah,
that.
I'm
Soy
making
in and
tons
of
of
itself,
estrogen.
it lowers a man's testosterone, right? So women have been elevated, told that they don't need men. The men have been weakened, and now there's women like you guys. You're looking around, you're like, where are all the strong men, right? It's a frustrating spot to be in.
I have a strong man.
That's
There's
good.
a lot of women
I
who
sent
have a
it to
lot of
him.
testosterone now too.
That's
It's an attack on both.
Yes, there is absolutely an attack on both sexes, both on a biological level and also on a psychological
Yeah.
level.
But would you say it's more pronounced in men? Because I mean, what I think you have happening is like the plastics that are in the water, like these microplastics and stuff,
Medication.
that causes estrogen or
So a lot of those are called xenoestrogens, right? So they're like synthetic hormones that fit into your hormone receptors. This is why a lot of women are reaching puberty earlier than they're supposed to. Like young women nowadays
Right.
reach puberty way faster
8,
than they used to
9.
like 50 years ago.
It's heartbreaking.
It's
I think,
heartbreaking.
yeah.
Yeah, and when those same chemicals go into men, they make us infertile. They lower our testosterone. Like there's all sorts of effects. So it's screwing up both sexes, but it's primarily feminizing hormones.
and
That's
it's not
the
just in the
plan.
water, right? It's in like all these plastic
Dude,
products, water bottles.
This cup, if I put this in the microwave for like 15 seconds, this would leach
There's-
a bunch of xenoestrogens
yeah.
into
Wow.
it.
Not
Yeah,
paper.
And
like
may,
it's
may I interject?
you're
This
making
is
us
why the
feel
Bunny Ranch exists, because people come to figure out why their sex life isn't as robust as it should be. I kid you not.
I'm not sure if that's where we were going exactly, but
no, but yeah,
It
dude,
does
like
affect your sex
I'm
drive,
honest,
yeah,
I'm telling
and
you.
maybe even preference because of the
Absolutely.
study of the frogs.
yeah, I mean, there's so check this out. There's a ton of different stuff, right? So if you go to the store, you buy, say you buy a packet of steak, for example, the plastic wrap on top of it, that's going to leach xenoestrogens into the steak. Women on birth control, this is a very interesting thing. When women take birth control, they've done studies. Women on birth control, more often than not, prefer men with less masculine facial characteristics.
Really?
Yes. So women, you hear stories about this all the time. A woman will go on birth control and not be attracted to her boyfriend anymore, or she will be with a guy, get off of her birth control, and then all of a sudden she's like, wow, I'm not sexually attracted to my boyfriend at all. There's a massive assault.
incidents.
I wanted to say
What'd you
something
say?
about
Aren't
that.
those like freak
No,
occurrences?
It's common.
So-
It actually happened to one of my best friends.
I got married to my husband. We went on our honeymoon. The doctor put me on birth control, and you can ask him, just DM him. I did not want to have sex with him, and I was angry at him. And I told my doctor, get me off this junk. So she took me off it, and we were back to normal.
Nice. That's a perfect example. You know the other thing about birth control too? This is crazy. So you guys know what pheromones are? Like the things our bodies emit. You know, you smell a healthy person's pheromones, makes you more attracted to them, makes you want to have sex with them, so on and so forth. A person's you can actually smell a person's pheromones, and if their immune system is a good match for your immune system in terms of producing a kid, they will be more attractive to you. Okay, so they did a study where they had men wear shirts for like 3 days, and then they put their shirts in plastic bags, and they had women on birth control and off birth control smell the shirts. The women who were off birth control, when they smelled the shirts, they were attracted to the men who had complementary immune systems. And the women on birth control they couldn't tell which men, they weren't more attracted to the men with good immune systems for them.
How could
Well,
they
they're
tell
on
if they
birth
had
control, but they would not
complementary
be
immune
attracted.
systems? What was the test for that?
They like studied, I don't know, like their DNA or their like microbiome, something like that. I don't know.
Where was this study found?
Where was it
I've
found?
Yeah,
seen
like-
one like that.
Just online.
The
Just
immune
online.
Yeah.
system part.
Yeah, if you look up studies on how birth control changes women's mating preferences, there's like a ton of literature, and it's dramatic.
Show of hands, who's on birth control currently?
I think
When-
mine is
Wendy, no birth control?
non-hormonal.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah,
I'm not
there are
100%
some
sure,
non-hormonal.
I guess.
Is it the copper IUD?
It's an IUD, and
Okay.
when I went in to complain, I didn't go in to complain. I was doing a lot of research on hormones, and I went in and I said I want to get my hormones checked.
Sure.
They said why your birth control doesn't contain any hormones, and I was like, weird.
Oh.
Don't know how that's
How,
possible,
how
but
does,
okay.
how does it work then?
I think it just blocks the fallopian tubes from releasing the egg into the uterus to get fertilized.
It's like,
It's like a little-
Yep, like an umbrella with a copper.
Word?
A copper spring at the bottom of it, and the copper also destroys any type of implantation.
Okay, I want.
Copper's
we're
gotta do
talking. We're
something.
talking.
Something.
We're talking the feminization of
I
men.
can draw you a picture.
I want to drop one of my conspiracy theories. Okay, so when was the birth control pill introduced?
Late 60s. I think 68. Wait.
Is
Okay,
when
so
everyone
It was
was getting
around
all freaky.
It was around the around the feminist movement.
all right, so we got all these weak guys nowadays. How many generations of women have been on birth control when they picked their husbands, then came off the birth control and got pregnant? And has there been for the past 60 years a selection pressure artificially from birth control making women choose to mate with men that have more feminine characteristics? And are their offspring? Are you guys following me? You see what
I'm following. I'm following.
like that's like multiple okay, so like if birth control makes women prefer men with more feminine facial features, women go on birth control, they find a dude, they marry him, they get off the birth control, they have kids. That's generations of women picking men with more feminine characteristics and then producing kids with them.
I think we're doing like eugenics, like we want
genetic.
all
When I
women
think-
everywhere, a
interesting
world
theory.
of women
Yeah.
only.
Can I take
But
it a
it's
step
not
further?
like a world of women only, but like it's like a dysgenic like psyop, making women have more feminine boys.
Who's in
But
charge of
Can I
the
also
take it a
the
step
psyop?
murder rate
further?
went down.
I can't answer that question, otherwise this channel would get
If
banned.
we're
I-
on birth control,
Damn
we
it.
come off to have children, and those children are now the boys of the world. Could that birth control be leading to the feminization of men?
It's possible. I don't know.
Like while they're in the womb, you mean?
Well,
Like-
no, I'm not. You're not taking birth control while you're pregnant.
But the
you-
leftover effect, the residual effect within your system.
100%. So if you're
possible.
saying that it's leading us to be attracted to more feminine men, what's to lead it to not produce
What's the point?
a more feminine?
I mean, it might, you know.
I'm just adding to your-
When
to
when
your
women
theory.
take hormonal
Just-
birth control, it's just brute forcing their bodies with tons of hormones, and it also can deplete nutrients. This is why a lot of women actually become infertile after they come off hormonal birth control. All those nutrients maybe are making less feminine or more feminine boys. You know, there's a lot of stuff at play. It's possible. I don't know. Once you start just like adding tons of hormones to the body though, and all of these like poisons in the environment, like you get screwed up people.
And also one thing I feel like you forgot to mention was like most boys are not growing up with a father
Yeah.
in the home.
Yeah.
And I think that's like
Really
actually-
bad.
Yeah.
It's
really painful.
really, really bad.